Before I get into today's video, I just had to run a little errand this morning. My wife is an art teacher and she's just done a painting that she's submitting for an upcoming art exhibition in Hat Yai. All the paintings in the exhibition are about places in Hat Yai. People don't usually come to Hat Yai for art and culture, but if you're into that sort of thing, this is a nice place. It's in the grounds of the public park in Hat Yai, quite easy to find, and Thais call it Ho Sin. This is my wife's painting down here. It's of the floating market at Klong Hair, and the guy that runs the place is just preparing the exhibition. There's more paintings down here, some already on the walls, and the exhibition starts today and it will run for 2 months. That's the normal amount of time, but if they're very popular they can be extended. I've been here a few times before, so exhibitions. There was a very good one of photographs of the royal family I visited a number of years ago. So if you're into art and culture and looking for something to do in Hat Yai, this is a good place. I received another request, well in fact it was more of a complaint than a request, that when I'm showing people around Hat Yai I never come to the university Tesco area. So I've come here today to try to rectify that. The first piece of news is that Tesco Lotus is no longer Tesco Lotus. They've recently changed all the signage and now it's known as Lotuses with an apostrophe S. And I'm not exactly sure about history, but what I understand, there's a big conglomerate in Thailand called Jaron Pakpon CP, and they started this supermarket chain many years ago. I think in the early 90s, and then when the Asian financial crisis hit this region in 1997, a lot of companies had financial problems, and that gave the European retailers an opportunity to move in. So Carrefour came in from France and Tesco from the UK. And although these places employed a lot of Thai staff and sold a lot of Thai products, the Thais were never really happy about the foreign ownership. They're very protectionist and they like foreigners coming here, spending money, but not owning or controlling anything. So a few years ago, Carrefour left, and the Carrefour stores were taken over by Big C. All the Carrefour stores became Big C Extra. And I think it was last year that Tesco decided to leave the region. And the Tesco stores have been taken over again by the CP group. The new name seems a bit strange, but I guess that a marketing company was paid a small fortune to come up with the new name and design the new logo. But I suspect that local people will still refer to this place as Tesco Lotus for quite a long time yet. I wasn't planning to do a video inside Lotus, but I had to come in to use the bathroom, so we just did a quick look around. And wherever you go, they're all basically the same format. The main store is on the inside. They've got food, clothes, electrical appliances, household goods, and outside you've got independent shops, gold shops and some restaurant chains. Not very exciting, and wherever you go they're all basically the same. As is the case in most Thai shopping malls, there's also a food centre. They don't accept cash. You have to exchange your cash for a cash card and then pay using the cash card. And it's generally mostly Thai dishes, but the food's okay and it's a cheap way to eat. If you are interested in seeing the inside of Thai shopping malls and department stores, let me know in the comments and I can take you to a few other places such as Big C and Mackerel. Just opposite Tesco is the Prince of Songkla University, although locals never refer to it as the Prince of Songkla University. You'll hear people saying PSU, but much more commonly they'll refer to it as Mo'o. And Thais like these abbreviations. The three main roads running through downtown Hat Yai are called Nipat Utit 1, 2 and 3, but the Thais will just say Sai Nun, Sai Song, Sai Sam, and same with the schools. For the schools, they always refer to them by their abbreviations. So it's like your war or your Warsaw. And the locals will know which school, but if you're an outsider, it will be a complete mystery as to where they mean. It's a combined university and teaching hospital. So there's a real hospital there. That's where my daughter was born. And lots of patients every day. It's a very busy hospital. And there are lots of different faculties inside. And the Prince of Songkla was Prince Mahidol, who was the father of Kings Rama 8 and 9 and the grandfather of the present king. And he was a fully qualified doctor. So at this university there are faculties that teach agriculture, law, humanities, art, but there's a big focus on medicine. There's a faculty of medicine where people who want to be doctors go through a 6-year degree, a faculty of nursing, a faculty of dentistry, a faculty of pharmaceutical science, and a few years ago they opened a faculty of veterinary medicine, so you can take your pet along to get them treated. And there's also a faculty of traditional Thai medicine. I worked here for about 4 years, several years ago, and back then it was quite comfortable inside. There was room to breathe. Since then they've built a lot more buildings, there's a lot more students, a lot more car parking, a lot more cars, and it's pretty crazy. You go inside, you can never find a car parking space, and I don't really like going inside there now. The good news is they are building a new campus. When I did a video previously about a house that my friend was building, his house is actually very near the new campus, so when that opens it should improve things a little. Inside the university there's a large food centre that sells cheap food. It's intended for students and employees working inside the campus, but anyone can go inside. So if you're looking for the cheapest food possible, you can go inside. There's also a natural history museum. I'm not sure of the opening hours these days, so you'd need to check. Back in the days when I was working there, it was run by a girl named Goy, who used to be one of my students, but I guess she's left now. But there's not much that's interesting inside, just a lot of students and faculty buildings, so I'm not going to go inside. Where I'm going to head to is sort of the community area, just outside the university. Running down by the side of the university, there's a road called Punagun Road, and there are a lot of restaurants, cafes, accommodation, and because most people around there are young, it's quite trendy. A lot of the places are owned by lecturers and professors inside the university, and it's got quite a good vibe, the area. So we'll go and take a look. Hat Yai isn't great for Western food like some of the other sort of resort areas, Phuket, where there are a lot of foreigners, but this is one of the good places. This is called the Basil, and the owner, I think his name is Kun Anulson. I used to know him quite well years ago, but I haven't seen him for a very long time. And he used to live in Phuket, and I think he might have been a chef at one of the big hotels, but he understands Western food. And he opened this place, and it sort of does Mediterranean style cuisine. Really good. They've also got a good wine selection. And I felt really sorry for him a number of years ago. It was 2010. This place was doing well, so he decided to open a second branch. And the second branch opened underneath Central Department Store in Lee Gardens Plaza. And they did a really nice job. It's looking fantastic. And then within a matter of weeks of opening, Hat Yai had its biggest ever flood. And because this place was below ground, it got hit badly. It was completely devastated. And after the flood, it never reopened again. So it's just this one branch now. This is in Tanong Punagun Soi 2 if you want to visit, and so the food is really good. This would be a good place if you've got evil spirits in your hair. You can come and get a haircut and get exercised at the same time. This is a terrible place to drive and to park, so I just found a convenient parking space, left the car, and now I'm going to walk around, which is something I can do if I'm by myself. I can't do it if I'm with my wife because she won't walk anywhere. And even if we drive somewhere and I park sort of 50 yards from the venue, which means she has to walk a little bit, she doesn't like it. And I found this with all Thai women, they just do not like walking. And the driving here is just crazy. Like, these are tiny little roads and you just wouldn't believe how fast some people drive. And these Grab drivers, these food delivery drivers, are particularly notorious. And all of the students have got motorbikes. There's a million motorbikes, cars, trucks. It's just manic. There's a lot of student accommodation inside the campus, and there's a lot outside here as well. And I'm not sure what the arrangement is. I've got a feeling that they like first year students to stay inside the campus, you know, sort of for safety, and maybe they're not familiar with the area. And then maybe after that, some people would decide they want to stay outside, or maybe they can't get a room inside. I'm not really sure. But if you're looking for accommodation in Hat Yai, there is a lot around this area, and because it's geared up towards like the student crowd, it's quite cheap. But on the other hand, that means it could also be quite noisy as well. I'm walking along the road that runs parallel to Punagan. I think it's called Tungri. And as we get closer to one of the main university gates, it gets a lot busier. So around here, you've got lots of small restaurants and cafes. This is a typical barber shop, Cut Pom Chai, so cut hair men. And when I first got to Hat Yai, for several years I used to go to salons to get it like cut. I don't know why, I probably just felt a bit more comfortable. But the girls working in those places only usually did women's hair, and they weren't very familiar with men's hair, and they used to like faff around for a lot and charge me 200 or 300 baht. And in these places you can get a really good haircut, and the prices: Pu Yai adults 120, Dek children 50 to 80. But I normally pay less than this. I normally pay 100. There's a little laundrette here with coin operated washing machines. Just opposite there's a pharmacy. In this area it's got all the things that you would expect to find in an area with a large student population. This is why I didn't want to drive these narrow roads. Motorbikes parked everywhere, there's just nowhere to park a car. It's much easier to walk. So along here, much of the same. Little food shops, hair salons, beauty parlours, a post office. It's a practical place to live, but just a little bit crazy for me personally. And of course, with so many motorbikes, it's always useful to have some motorbike repair shops. These places are incredibly cheap. When I got married, my wife came with a motorbike, so we've been running that, well, for 11 years now since we've been married, or nearly 12 years, and it's cost nothing. In all that time, it's only needed a tiny number of repairs, and to get anything done on it is just so ridiculously cheap. The complete opposite to my car. Another motorbike repair shop and second-hand motorcycles for sale. When I was working at university, I used to be quite friendly with one of the professors in the Faculty of Law. Nice guy, extremely intelligent, one of the most intelligent Thais I've ever met. Spoke Thai, English, French and German fluently. Very nice guy. And he was telling me that every year of the new intake they get at the university, they lose about 5 in motorbike accidents. And when you see, you know, the way they ride their bikes around here, it's not really surprising. This is the Faculty of Veterinary Science that I mentioned earlier. It's one of the most recent faculties to be built must have opened about 5 or 6 years ago, and I have taken my cats here a few times. At the back of the university, just a bit further up the Punagum Road, is the International Conference Centre, where they hold large events such as the annual Hat Yai motor show. For those people interested in the Thai language, I've mentioned several times before that the transliteration system is ridiculous, and I'll give you another example here. So with transliteration, if there's any aspirated T, P or K sounds, those letters are always followed by an unnecessary and confusing H. So with the town of Songkla, the province of Songkla, it will be transliterated Songkla. However, with the Prince of Songkla University, the Songkla bit is spelt exactly the same way in Thai, but when it's transliterated, there's no H. And if a student writes a paper or a thesis and refers to the university and spells Songkla with an H, it's a heinous crime. It's, you know, it's a real big problem. So the same word in Thai transliterated 2 different ways. Why? There's just no reason. It's utterly ridiculous. The main entrances to the university have gate numbers. So this one here is Pratu Roy Gao, 109, and further up the road is 108. And if you're arranging to meet Thais, they might tell you, you know, so it's near gate 109 or 108. And all the locals know where that is, and they will expect you to know as well. But it can be quite confusing. So it is useful if you do know where gate 108 and gate 109 is. Up there it says Talat Si Trang Market, and underneath it says Mo'o 109. So if you've been listening to what I've been saying, you will know exactly where this is. So Mo'o is what the locals call the Prince of Songkla University, and 109 is gate 109. So this place was quite near that gate. It's actually just opposite the Faculty of Veterinary Science. The person who wanted me to look around this area wanted me to go to Si Trang Market. There's not much going on, it's not very exciting. It's lunchtime, so I was expecting a few more people, but it's very quiet. Mainly food shops. Yeah, everywhere looks to be deserted. It's actually started raining. Weather-wise, November and December were exceptionally wet here, really wet. And then the weather just changed as it does at the beginning of January and went very, very hot. It's been like a furnace the last few weeks. Then yesterday it started to cloud over a little bit, no rain. It was a bit cloudy this morning, and it started to rain. I wasn't expecting there to be any rain until about April. Okay, so the main seating area, so there's a few students, not too many people. Some fruit. Pineapples, mangoes, bananas, oranges, and fruit drinks. So all local food, and the prices will be quite cheap here. If you're interested in prices, let's take a quick look at the menu. So what we got here. Khao pad tom yum tale. So khao pad fried rice, tom yum is like the spicy soup, and tale is seafood. So you probably get, you know, some prawns, maybe some squid. 60 baht. Khao pad saparot, so fried rice with pineapple. That will also have some kind of meat in it as well. Gai tod mayonnaise. Okay, that's the Thai transliteration of mayonnaise. So deep fried chicken with mayonnaise, and gai tod cream manao, so fried chicken with a lemon cream sauce. That's actually quite good. So yeah, quite a good selection of Thai food, and all dishes are 50 or 60 baht. The accommodation near the university is pretty basic for students, cheap, and it's a really noisy area. As you get further away from the university, it gets quieter, and there are actually some really nice places. There are a few places that have got fitness centres and swimming pools. And this place, I came to look at the rooms a number of years ago, and they had some really nice rooms. Not cheap by Thai standards, not the usual sort of 3,000 or 4,000 a month. These are about, I think, 10,000 a month, but very, very nice. With regard to living in this area, there's definitely an age factor. If you're young and you want a lot of excitement and noise and places to go, and you want to live in a community where there's a lot of young people, that'll be fine for you. I'm well past that stage. I live quite a way outside of Hat Yai city centre, and all I really want is some peace and quiet and a safe environment for my kids, so it doesn't appeal to me at all, but you know, many years ago it might have done. And at the moment it's almost 1 o'clock, so this is lunchtime, it's fairly quiet. It's going to get busy in the evening, and I would imagine that all the noise and activity probably goes on 24 hours a day, so it's really up to you what you want. This says Ho Pak Ying. There's quite a few of these places around this area, and it's an apartment building just for females, and I think it's very good for the safety aspect. And later, when my daughter goes to university, if she stays in an apartment, I'd be a lot more comfortable if she was staying in a place where there were just females. If you're looking for a place to stay, it's useful to familiarise yourself with this sign: Hong Wang Hai Chow. Hong, room, Wang like available, and Hai Chow for rent, and a phone number underneath if you are interested. If you work at the university, you get free accommodation, and this is some of the staff accommodation. When I worked here, I was offered a room but turned it down because I already had a room outside. And my friend who's having a house built, his wife is a nurse here, so they have a place, and that's where they stay at the moment until the new house is ready. And this is a public university, so it's you know, government. And if you work for the government in Thailand, the salaries are not great, but the perks are pretty good. So you don't need to pay to see a doctor or to stay in hospital. All your medical bills are paid for, and free accommodation. So if you go to the immigration office or police station or any other government building, you'll see similar types of accommodation for the government workers. I don't spend a lot of time in this area these days, but I was down here a few weeks ago with my family, and we were looking for somewhere to eat, and we found this place, and it was really good. It's like, you know, Korean style chicken, so that's where I think I'm going to have my lunch. And walking around in Thailand, I don't so much get hungry, but I get really thirsty because it's so hot and humid. So I'll be back after my lunch. So we're back on the Punagan Road. There's lots of activity along here. I can't really give you any recommendations. I don't know the area that well these days, and it changes so often. When I used to come here, when I was working at university, all the places I used to go to are now closed and new places opened. I used to rely on my students to tell me where to go. They would always know the best places and what places had just opened. So if possible, talk to someone who works or studies at the university. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, complaints or other feedback, please leave them below. Thank you for watching, and more videos soon.